Hello everyone, this is Dr. E, and for today we're going to be working on the metric system and how we convert them. Metric system are some of the unit of measurements that we need to learn in mathematics, and for today we're going to apply our algebra skill or mathematical skill on how to convert certain unit of measurement into another. Although the metric system is used in most countries of the world, it is used very little here in the United States. Now, the metric system does not use inches, feet, pounds, and so on, but its units for time and electricity are the same as those used now in the United States. So that's what we're going to be using, and we're going to be learning how the American system is converted into the metric system. And here are some of the metric or units of measurements lengthwise for our metric system. So 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters, and 1 decimeter is equal to 1/10 of a meter. So this is how we're going to be using these units of conversion to be able to convert some of the units of measurement later on. Now, there are some of you who are not familiar with the metric system, especially if you've lived in the United States all your life, where we use yards, pint, quarts, inches. But in other parts of the world, we use this system, which is a kilometer is equal to a bit more than half a mile. So we can say that 1 kilometer is longer than a mile, and 1 meter is just over a yard. So instead of yard, in the rest of the world, we use 1 meter as a unit of measurement for length. And if we have 1 centimeter, which is basically as high as your paperclip, this way. So the jumbo paperclip, its length using this method or using this diagram right here. So this much is about 1 centimeter. So 1 centimeter is smaller than an inch, and this is how you will visualize it. And if we talk about millimeter, it's even smaller because 1 millimeter is the size of the diameter of the metal wire in our paperclip. So this is how you can visualize the metric system if you're not too familiar with how we use other unit of measurements in other parts of the world. And if we are going to be using this system, we're using millimeters to measure just like the paper clips or the diameters of the paper clips from our previous example. For screws and a small unit of measurement, we're using millimeters. And if we're using a little bit bigger object, we're going to be using centimeters instead. And some of the centimeters or unit of measurement or actual things that we use to measure centimeters, the length of your clothes are sometimes measured in centimeters. And for meters, this is for a wider, bigger, or longer measurement. So a rug or a certain fabric, if we're going to buy it from a store, sometimes it's in meters, sometimes it's in yard. So this is how you can visualize what a meter is or 1 meter is, so that you will have an idea on how you can visualize those unit of measurement in this form. And when we talk about kilometers, think about miles. So instead of using miles in other parts of the world, we use kilometers to measure how far you are from point A to point B when you travel and go visit places similar to this one. So St. Louis is about 30 miles from whatever point of or starting point you are, which is about 48 kilometers if you convert it in kilometers. So this is how we use metric system in the other parts of the world and how you can visualize it similar to how we did it this way. And for example, on how we use inches, centimeters, millimeters, most rulers have the metric system for measuring objects that is about this much long, 12 feet or 1 foot, which is equal to how many centimeters? About 30 30 centimeters is a foot right here, and this is basically how we're going to convert this object right here. It's not really an object, but an insect. So a bee or a wasp, however you want to visualize this, is about 4 centimeters or 40 millimeters if we're going to use its metric system. And if we're seeing this particular butterfly right here, which is about 6 and a little bit more centimeters, or 6.3 centimeters in millimeter form, it's actually 63 millimeters. So you can see that sometimes it's easier or it's easy to convert metric system into another unit of measurement because it's just by the power, or we're using a power of 10 or conversion of 10 when we are working from one unit of measurement to the other when it comes to metric system. Now for conversion, let's see if we can convert 7 kilometers into something meter. It's not a mile, but a meter. So we need to have this cheat sheet to be able to convert 7 kilometers into something meters. So to be able to do that, let's start with writing out our equation. So we are changing 7 kilometers into something meters, and we know that to be able to convert this into meters, we are simply multiplying 7 kilometers into its conversion factor. And how are we going to figure out that conversion factor? So here we are going to look at our cheat sheet, and it says 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. 1,000 meters. And since we want to multiply 7 kilometers by the conversion factor, and to make it a little bit more visual, we are going to multiply 7 kilometers by 1, so that we're just changing how it looks like, but not the actual value of 7 kilometers. And to do that, we're going to multiply a special one. And to do that, we will use our conversion factor and cross multiply kilometers into 1,000 meters. So 1 is equal to 1,000 meters over 1 kilometers, which is basically 1 times 1 is still 1. So we still have a factor of 1 left in this part of our equation. So now that we have 1 is equal to 1,000 meter over kilometers, or a kilometer, we're going to be using that to multiply 7 kilometers to this conversion factor of 1, which is 1,000 meters over 1 kilometer. And by doing so, we are noticing that we can now cancel the kilometer unit because they are the common term in our rational expression. And now we're left with 7 multiplied to 1,000 meters. And now that we have changed our 7 kilometers into something meters, all we need to do is to multiply this, and we have 7,000 meters. So we know that 7 kilometer is equal to 7,000 meter using this method of conversion. And again, in mathematics, it's all about process and how we are working out syntax or procedure that will help us understand some complex computation similar to what we just did. So here we're able to compute and convert 7 kilometers into meter, which is 7,000 meters in this particular example. And now that we know how to use our conversion factor for the metric system, let's have another one and change 0.547 meters into millimeters. And for here, we need to use our cheat sheet and see if we can convert our meters into millimeters using this example. So now we have 0.547 meters, and we're going to convert it into something millimeters. And we know that all we need to do is to multiply 0.547 meters by the conversion factor. And to know our conversion factor, let's look at our cheat sheet, and we are seeing here millimeter to meters, but not meters to millimeters, but we're going to use this equation. 1 millimeter is equal to 1 over 1,000 meter. And to change this into a different form, we know that when we multiply m to 1 over 1,000, m will be placed into our numerator, and now we have 1 mm, or millimeters, is equal to 1 meter over 1,000. And since we need a conversion factor of 1, let's cross multiply, and now we are able to produce our 1, which will replace our conversion factor here, which is equal to 1 meter over 1,000 millimeter. And from here, we're going to incorporate it to 0.547 meter multiplied by 1 m over 1,000 mm. And if you'll notice, we cannot cancel m and mm because they're not of the same value. But if we reciprocate 1 m over 1,000 millimeters, we'll be able to do just that. So by using that method, we're still using a legal move in algebra. By reciprocating this, we'll have 1,000 millimeters over 1 millimeter, and by multiplying this with its reciprocal, now we're able to cancel the unit of measurement m, and we are left with mm, and we know that we're looking for the millimeters, so 0.547 times 1,000 millimeter is equal to the conversion that we're looking for. And if we multiply 0.547 to 1,000, we have 1230 for 1,000. So that means we're going to move 123 units for 0.547 going to the right, and we'll have 547.0 as our answer, which is approximately equal to 547. So that means 0.547 meters is equal to 547 millimeter using this process. So our solution here is to find our conversion factor using our cheat sheet or our table, and by multiplying our conversion factor to what we're trying to convert, we'll be able to find the correct conversion of 0.547 meters into millimeters, which is 547 in this particular example. And that is our lesson for today. So for your number bender challenge for today, I want you to convert 1.245 kilometers into centimeters using the cheat sheet that I have shown you in our lesson, and the process on how you're going to multiply that conversion factor correctly using algebra. And that is our lesson for today on the metric system. Just remember that the unit of measurement that we are using in the United States is a little bit different in the unit of measurements that is being used in other parts of the world. And being able to understand this language, it will help us better understand how things are measured in other parts of the world other than the United States. This is Dr. E, and see you again